30 Odd Minutes is sponsored in part by Digital Dowsing. Who are you powered by?
For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard. We will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Oh, hey, welcome. Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. It's great to have you guys here aboard the mothership. We've shrunk the mothership down and set her right here on a Ouija board. Dangerous? Are they? Are they not? Just a game? We're going to figure all that out tonight with our guest. It's going to be a lot of fun, very interesting. Of course, as always, with me in the control center, Matt and Andrew. How are you guys tonight?
Excellent, Commander.
Howdy, Jeff.
Matt's in the chat room, so keep it clean.
Yeah, the new chick's doing her hair.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Laura's on assignment in Dubai.
Well, Dreck did get that stuff in it, so.
Yeah.
It's true, right. What's new there, Andrew?
Oh, I just got this out of the Communications Center. It's greetings to Herkimer County Community College Television in New York State.
We got some good diamonds.
Yeah. And to answer your question, no, the mothership isn't upside down. We just look that way when we're doing a keg stand. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yes, of course. Keg stands, everything's upside down. All right, good stuff, guys. Ouija boards, I know you've got your stories to share. We all do, and we'll be getting to that. But we also asked Dr. Dreck his feelings and his perspectives, what he had to say.
Greetings, oddballs. I'm hanging around in the lounge of the ship for a change. We're talking about Ouija boards, but you know what occurred to me? Why do Ouija boards have to have the monopoly on board psychics? So here's a Monopoly game, and I'm going to use this board just like I'd use a Ouija board. I'm going to use my little car as my marker, and I'll put my finger on it and ask it a question. Let's see what a Monopoly board will tell me. Okay, Monopoly board, let's see. What's my next destination? Oh, there it goes. It's moving. I told you this would work. Hey, where's it going? Go to jail. That's a bunch of baloney. I'm not going to jail. Hey, let me out of here. Get me out of here. Or find me a cheap lawyer. Get me out of here. Jeff, where are you? Please, somebody, tear these bars down. Get me out of here. Or give me a harmonica.
Thank you, Dr. Dreck. Enjoy your time in prison. Always getting himself in trouble, but we love him. That's why we keep him around.
Shouldn't mess around with the board.
No, we shouldn't mess around with the board, not even monopolies. All right, Ouija boards. It's just a game, isn't it? There are few words as polarizing in the paranormal community as Ouija. The word itself is a trademark brand name that belongs to Hasbro. The generic term is talking board or spirit board. They first show up in the latter half of the 19th century and have become part of pop culture and sleepovers ever since. But are they dangerous? Tonight's guest calls herself a Ouijologist and says these boards can be powerful communication tools and a source for inspiration. She's the author of the new book, The Spirit of Creativity, Embodying Your Soul's Passion. Would you believe she's beaming to the mothership live from California? Please welcome Karen Dahlman.
Yeah.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
Karen, thanks for coming aboard the mothership tonight to talk about Ouija boards. You've been using these things for decades. This is not a new passing fancy. Did it start in childhood? How did this get started for you?
It started really when I was very young. Started with some friends, kind of messing around, like you said, in a sleepover. And then speaking to one of my friends' dead sister, who I didn't even know they had a dead sister. So at that point, it got me. I was very intrigued. So I had my first Ouija board. I got it for Christmas, of all things, when I was 8 years old.
Right.
But I've been doing Ouija for quite some time since then.
So here's the thing. I credit the Ouija board in part to making me a paranormal guy. I like you, I played as a kid at sleepovers. We would use it for communication, and we thought we were communicating with various spirits in these old haunted houses. I grew up around it, and to say it had no impact or inspiration on me would be ridiculous. So we always wondered, though, right? For me, there's only 4 possibilities with the Ouija board. I'm pushing it, you're pushing it, we're somehow collectively pushing it, or it's something else. It's something beyond our understanding. What are your thoughts as the source to what's making this planchette move across the board?
Well, I have two answers to that.
Sure.
One is because of many years of doing it and how I've been able to also authenticate some of the experiences, I believe that it's coming from an outside source, a source beyond my control. The other piece I wanted to say was, so let's say somehow people do it, it's coming from their own mind. Well, as I look at the Ouija board, it's a tool for personal development and growth. So if that's happening, they're getting better and it's helping them in their lives, who cares? Now, I care for the fact that the Ouija is something I can use to help others and help myself and to develop and further into my spirituality, as well as, look at things that are going on in my life and get some clarification and guidance.
Right. No, I understand. One of the things, too, and it's, as with anything paranormal, it's so easy to get skeptical sometimes. I remember using the board once with a friend, and we were spelling it out, and it said, my friend asked something like, do I have a brother? And it said yes. And he said, whoa. He said, it knows I have a brother. I'm like, yeah, but you have a brother too, and so do I, as a matter of fact. He used to pull our underwear out from under, us and stuff like that. So at some point, like you said, are we communicating with our subconscious or our higher selves or whatever? But then again, sometimes, and I think so many people have a Ouija story. When you talk to folks, they've got a Ouija story. Well, it really did have some insight that came to pass, or it knew something that I didn't know that no one in the room knew. And that's what keeps us hooked on this incredible, enigmatic board game. Before we go too far, I want to go all the way back to 1891, if we could. The Kennard Novelty Company. Here's one of the original boards, an image of it. That's what the board first looked like. 1891, the Kennard Novelty Company in Baltimore. The generic term is a talking board or a spirit board or a witch board, these kind of things. Why do you think, Karen, that this piece of wood that's over a century old now has been so captivating for so long? What's the appeal across years and millions of people?
Well, I think people want to understand what happens to themselves when they die. So it starts with talking to ghosts and spirits. I think people don't want to. They want to know their life goes on. Something goes on, and there's an existence beyond. You want to believe that it gives you some kind of solace for your loved ones and for yourself. It's trying to understand the great mystery. And the Ouija board had been popular, as you know, for many, many years. Even goes way back to some older decades of Greek and Roman and China we were talking about earlier. But the ones we're talking about here is like late 1800s to present day. I have some boards sitting here. Like this one goes back to the 1920s. I've got a board here from the 40s. These were games they just played. They brought their cocktails out, and then you would play the Ouija board. But, I don't see it as something you're supposed to play, though. And then when you play it, that's when you invite negative things to happen. Or if you're drinking or under any kind of influence.
Which we often are, let's be honest.
That's right.
That's how we roll. So, but the dangerous reputation doesn't come out of the gate. In fact, Eric, if you could bring up the Saturday Evening Post picture. Check this out. Norman Rockwell from May of 1920. Look at that. I mean, Saturday Evening Post, they're using the Ouija board. And what's great about this, what people have to understand, this was long before the days of Twister. For an unmarried couple to get together and be sitting knee to knee, hands to hands, it was, it was an excuse to get really close. And look at her. Look at the woman. She's looking off like, Grandma, are you there? And he's like, whatever, baby. I just want to get closer. And I love that. But it's very innocent and fun, and it's on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post. Thank you, Norman Rockwell. But something happens later on. And I believe it happens around the 70s with William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist, the book, and then the movie. There's a very short clip in the movie where Reagan's talking to Captain Howdy by herself on the board, and that's the kind of the story device used to get the demon into the little girl. And then from there, all hell breaks loose, and we know what unfolds, head spinning around and so on. And from there, the reputation starts to get dark. And like I said, it's really polarizing. Were you at all scared, Karen, when you were a kid? Were you scared at all to stay away from this thing? What made you keep coming back to it?
I know I wasn't afraid of it ever. I've always had experiences with different kinds of entities without the board, so I was never afraid of it. But I learned to use it with great care and respect for myself and others in the space when I'm doing it, because I have seen some not so pleasant things happen. I can't say anything really bad like the witch board or Exorcist or anything of that nature. although I do believe you can bring some spirits in and pull them down. You know, that Norman Rockwell picture was great because it shows that Ouija was really an acceptable, fun thing you did in the parlor, you did with your friends. It was no big deal until it was demonized in the 70s, as you mentioned. And I still see it being thought of that way, and that's, you know, it's something that I really want to educate people on, that it's just a divination tool, and it's something that can be used as a way just to a little deepen your life, deepen your meaning and understanding of things. Plus, it can be used to, help spirits that are lost, that are stuck. I've done quite a few, you want to call them exorcisms, I wouldn't really call them that, but right. Help them see that they're dead and to move on to the light. So they have to move on as well.
So can you give us an example? You mentioned you've seen a few things that, you know, were kind of frightening. Give us an example of something that kind of unnerved you a bit that you saw come through the board.
Well, if you do the board without you protecting yourself when you do the board, what you find is you invite anything and everything in. It's basically an opening, a portal, a window back into the other side, consciousness, the beyond. And so when you open that up, things come through. And so what I've experienced is really angry, upset spirits that cuss. I've seen spirits actually move around in space space and time in my house. I've seen also things come off walls. I've been touched by a spirit. It's literally physically touched. And and sometimes they can argue with you too. I think when I started seeing those things, and that was probably in my late teens, my early 20s, and that's when I learned, you know, this is a serious thing. These things are manifested, and now I've got to look at doing this in a different light, in a different way.
So how do you, when you come to the board now, how do you protect yourself? What do you do to make this a positive experience?
Great question, and I think that's what a lot of people ask as well. It's very important that you set an intention, and the intention is to have only that which comes from the space of knowledge, universal truth, white light, and you surround yourself with that image of the white light. You surround yourself with your intentions and your words. And the Ouija, because it's just an opening, and it's nothing but an opening, you can shut that down. You either can walk away, put it away, or you can protect it and say, nothing can come through this space but that which I allow. And if something comes through you don't want, put it away, walk away from it. And that happens sometimes. Right, understood. Now, when something does come through, how do you react to that? How do you get it out? Are you talking about something negative?
Something negative, yeah, something you don't want.
Here for different purposes.
Yeah, something negative coming through. What would you do to deal with it?
Well, I had Mr. Zozo come through, and I know that the Zozo phenomenon, a lot of people have been talking about it lately. And when he came through, he was very easygoing, but it was a repetitive thing, and we were getting nowhere with it. And I said, you know what, you're gone, you're done. And I said, I'd ask you to go off the board. I have a lot of friends on the other side, spirit friends, who help me, and they will come in and actually escort them right on out, just like a bouncer, I guess, if you will. That's cool. All right, so So I understand too that you've said that the Ouija board helps you write your book. That's right. That's correct. I've written a few books in my day, and it seems very slow, letter by letter. You know, I type pretty quick these days, and I'm just like, A R. It's slow. You're right.
What about the punctuation?
How does it take? How long does it take?
Well, okay, just let's clarify that. The Ouija board did not write my book. The Ouija board worked with me in collaboration. I wrote my book myself, and then I'd come back, and the Ouija might say, come back in a couple of weeks, and let's talk about what you wrote these last 2 weeks. And it would say, take that, deepen it. Have you thought about maybe this concept? And so I take the concepts and I deepen them further and say, yeah, you could go even further with that. Or have you thought about the concept of, for example, dualism of polarity, and talk about that concept and how it relates to development, spiritual development. So that's how it worked. It was more like having a confidant or an editor or a colleague with me kind of helping me with some ideas.
But not a ghostwriter.
Nah, not a ghostwriter.
Jeez, all right, sorry. God, stupid. I know, it was a layup. What are we going to do? All right, Karen, hold tight. We got to take a break from the news. When we come back, we're going to hear more about your Ouija stories. We're going to talk about the dangers that might be lurking and what happens with possession. Right after the news.
Many in the mainstream media have had some fun recently with televangelist Pat Robertson over his remarks about demons possessing sweaters donated to charity. During an episode of his television show, The 700 Club, Robertson fielded a question sent in by a viewer who wanted to know if it was possible that pre-owned items sold at Goodwill and other secondhand stores could have demons attached to them. He took the question seriously and went on to relate a story he knew about a girl who had felt compelled to buy a ring that had been influenced by a witch. He said the girl's life became troubled, and as he put it, all hell broke loose. Robertson made it clear that he doesn't believe all clothing bought from thrift stores is possessed, but then added, "It ain't going to hurt anything to rebuke any spirit that happened to have attached themselves to those clothes." Sounds like something John Zaffis might say. I'm Andrew Lake, and oddly enough, that's the news.
Thank you, Andrew. We're back. Okay, possessed possessions, possessed sweaters. Thank you, Pat Robertson. I think I've had a possessed tuxedo printed T-shirt before. It made me do horrible things. but guys, tell me this. Matt, Andrew, possessed objects, is that something you've run into in your paranormal investigations?
I have, on several of them. Probably one of the more famous ones that I've run across is a Ouija board itself. At the Lizzie Borden house, they have a board from, it's roughly 50s era. Mm-hmm. And on several occasions, the board has been stolen from the house and then mailed back. On one of the last ones, times it was mailed back. It was mailed back with a note saying, "Please make it stop."
Nice.
Yeah.
And any follow-up after that, or was that just it?
No, we leave it in the house and people still use it. But what happened to the person that took it, obviously, they didn't put a return address. Interestingly enough.
Right.
Well, after committing a crime, it's a good idea not to give a return address on it.
Yeah. Good point. All right, cool. Amazing stuff. The Ouija board, I've brought them on many a ghost investigation that we do these events all over the country. I mainly bring them because it legitimately freaks people out. And one of the things that's always got me fired up is when people say, "Don't touch them, they're dangerous. Now I'm going to go do an EVP session, or I'm going to go hold my K2 meter and try to communicate with spirits." And for the life of me, I always try to point out to people, I don't see a difference. Whatever you're doing, you're saying, whatever is out there, come to where I am and communicate with me. Whether you're using an audio recorder, or dowsing rods, or a pendulum, or a Ouija board, or any number of spirit communication tools and methods, it's all the same idea. You're saying, come communicate with me. And do we ever know what's on the other side? Do we ever know for sure? Karen, do you run into things that seem to be, false, saying they're one person, but maybe there's something worse? Is that the kind of thing you still run into? Or like you said, are your spirit guides kind of keeping you clean of that? Your bouncers?
My spirit bouncers are keeping me clean of that these days, except Mr. Zozo did come through, but they took him out immediately when I asked him to leave. In the beginning, yes, I would run into those errant spirits, you want to call them that would come in and out and do and say things and give you stories that you just know weren't true. And until you really understand what you're listening to, or how to even use it, I should say, it's really up to the operator. It's not to what's on the other side. The operator's really got to know what you're doing, and I'm the operator. It's my responsibility. And when I state that responsibility out loud, then I don't have that anymore. I don't have that kind of experience.
All right,
but I have.
Of course. Now the big question that comes up, and again, when I bring these things out at ghost hunts and stuff, and people go, "They're so dangerous," and we try to say they are, we try to say they aren't. I want to flashback, if we could, to 30-odd minutes, Mission 20. This was a few years ago. We had Ouija board expert Bob Murch on the show. He's a historian and has a huge collection of these boards. And we had him on the show, and a lot of people didn't see this because it happened after the credits rolled. But take a look. Think about the question, Karen. Are these things dangerous? Watch this, and then let's respond. Take a look.
Hey, man. Thanks for coming, man. Great
thanks
show.
for having me.
No, that was awesome. And but really, you don't think these things are dangerous at all?
No, I don't think these are dangerous at all.
Huh, it's interesting.
I don't think anything could happen.
Yeah, I think they're a little dangerous. Now what do you think?
Though that was the first time we beat someone down with a Ouija board, I'm proud to say it wasn't the last. So,
again, it's the operator. See, those two operators were the dangerous ones.
And they looked a lot like Matt and Andrew. Just saying, I'm not. The suspects list is very short on that one. So, okay, like you said, let's talk about some of the inspiration for the creativity. You sent us some of your artwork. And this is Ouija board inspired?
No, it's not a Ouija board inspired, but it's the artwork on my book.
Okay, right,
Which
yeah,
book
from the
was
cover.
Ouija board inspired.
Right, and so...
It's my creative man. It's what creativity to me looks like.
I'm going to let that sink in. Right on. Okay, so the but the book is inspired. So how do you tap into inspiration using this? Using your spirit guides? What's the method of this talk of the muse? Artists always talk about the muse. Is this almost like a direct communication, a back and forth with the muse?
Absolutely. You brought it up a point up earlier about, are we talking to our higher selves? I purposely do talk to our higher selves sometimes. Sometimes I will talk to somebody else's higher self that's not in the room because they've given permission to give them back some information. That's how you inspire yourself to go deep within. And if you can go deep within by going out here and learning what's out here, that's another way to go deeper. So I see it as a way to understand there's so much more to our world than what we think. There's so much more to our world than what we can see, feel, hear, touch, taste, know. And by doing this, we inspire ourselves that everything is there's so much more, and there's so much more complexity to life. And as we do that, we begin to understand so much more complexity to ourselves. And that in itself can inspire greatness out of us. So when I do the Ouija with somebody, and I only do it with a select group of people who are along the same lines of the way I think, and they don't see it as a scary tool, they can have some trepidation, but they don't see it as something evil or scary. And so we come together and we ask for some kind of guidance or some kind of inspiration. And sometimes the Ouija might say our spirit guides, or it could be one of our spirit friends, or it could be somebody we haven't met before, an angel. They'll come back and give us some suggestions of things to try and do. And from that inspires us to have a conversation between the two of us. Right. So it's almost like there's three of us in the room, the other side or the outer side, and then the two sitting there doing Ouija. And through that, there's a dialogue that ensues with the three of us. That's kind of what I call it. There's three of us.
Would you ever use the board alone?
No, I don't recommend that, and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you do that, you get into trouble. And I said because there's no witness there with you as you're doing it, and I think you can possibly push it, or I think you get more into doing your own body movements that make it move. So having somebody else there, it's strategy, but it also gives you that sense of, I'm not pushing it, they're not pushing it, let's trust that, and then you got somebody witnessing what's going on as well. You're not alone with it. But just don't recommend that. Never recommend that.
Right. Now, I heard a story on another interview you did about communicating with an actual fetus in a womb.
Oh, yes.
Would you please share that story? I think that's really interesting. So it's not just about ghosts. I mean, this is something different.
No. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Jeff. The fetus, this is very interesting because we can talk to dead animals. We can talk to an animal that's alive. As long as our consciousness works with us, you can talk to a fetus, a baby in the womb, which is exactly what Jeff is telling you all. I did. This was quite some years ago, and I was in a whole different state than where the other person was located. I knew somewhat about this person, but they had asked, the person had asked somebody I knew in common that, I'm not feeling like I'm going to be a good mother. I've got this baby in me, and I'm just really worried about it. She had some horrific abuse in her past. And so there was a lot of lack of self-nurturing for herself. So my friend asked me, and I said, sure, if she's going to be open. So what I did is I got on the board with one of my confidants, and we talked to the fetus. The fetus said, yes, I'm going to be a boy. I picked my mother because we were together before. Now we're getting into reincarnation, by the way.
Right.
Because you can also talk to maybe counterparts you've been with before that haven't actually incarnated again. So we could go on and on about all the things you can talk to on the Ouija. So we spoke to the fetus. The fetus said, yes, I chose you to be with you. You're going to be a great mother. Please trust me. Trust that I chose you for those reasons. Trust in yourself, and it's going to be great. And sure enough, she did have a child. It was a boy. And what I've heard, I don't know anymore, but at the time that she was just really happy and was becoming a great mother to this child.
I guess I'm curious. How do you validate what it is you're exactly communicating with? These messages. How do you tell the difference between wishful thinking or the writer in our heads filling in the story, and this is legitimately someone from a past life or who hasn't reincarnated? how would you know? I mean, that to me, I guess that's the part I'm having trouble grasping.
I would say at first you don't always know, and that's and I say first, that's first using the Ouija board in the very beginning of my work with it. Now, since I've been using it for such a long time, over quite a few years, I won't say exactly how many, but it's quite a few. That you can tell. There's a feeling you get, and also I have certain confidants on the other side, bouncer guides, who have names, and they come to me, and they've been coming to me over the years, and they've given me some really validity to what they've told me, validity to the stories and information that have helped me in my life and helped others. So it's more of a trust. It's like you sitting down with a person you know, and they tell you something. How do you trust that? So it's a matter of building trust and trusting what you feel inside. And the other thing about Ouija too, it's not accurate. It's not 100% accurate, just like we're not. Because of free will, things can change in the future. So because Ouija said this is going to happen doesn't mean that's going to happen. It just means this is right now the indication of the direction you're going, and this could be a possibility or an opportunity or a feasibility to the way things are going for you. But it doesn't necessarily mean it will be. So you come to use Ouija as not a panacea, not an end-all, but more as a tool again, just like you spoke about the other divination tools. It's to help you widen your experience and just kind of deepen your understanding of who you are and what and who the world is.
I'm curious if you've had any pushback from either religious folks or even the paranormal community saying, I can already see the comments on this mission when it's up online and tomorrow, no, they're all evil, she's wrong, don't touch them ever, have you had pushback from that community?
No, I haven't. I've had actually great support. Yeah, people that have a little trepidation express that to me, and sure. I say I welcome that. Nobody should believe in anything 100%. And if you're scared, don't do it. It's not for everybody. I like it because it's something I developed over the years, and it works quite well for me. But that's because I have this, I would say, almost symbiotic relationship because I trust the spirits on the other side over the years. But no, I haven't gotten too much kickback, and if I do, that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Sure. Some friends who are a little more religious, I'm spiritual and not religious, they do say things to me, and they call it demonic. But how I see it is this. First of all, I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm licensed, and I practiced for quite a few years. And to me, I kind of call this Ouija therapy because I use it to help people grow from it. And if it's not a positive experience, I'm not going to do it. And if it's not helping people grow and to develop and to learn and to understand more about themselves and their lives, then I'm not going to do it. So therefore, I don't get into the whole thing and let's just talk to dead people. Right. I'm looking more at, let's go beyond. Let's find out what will make you make your world that much larger to become your potential of who you're supposed to be. That is what my book's about. That is why Ouija was so good at helping with my book because where I go with Ouija, talking to fetuses, animals, beyond, not just dead people, it really has helped me in my own life and with my writing in my book, and of course people that have read the book as well.
Right. Understood. Now, what I've told people in the past, divination tools are a lot like musical instruments. Some people are piano players, some people are drummers, some people are guitar players. Same with these tools. Some people, the Ouija works for them. Others, EVP. Others, dowsing rods, and so on. And sometimes, oh my God.
Warning. Local radar has picked up the mothership. 1 minute to release weather balloon decoys.
These missions just go so fast. I'm so sorry.
They do.
Karen, so tell me, what's coming up next for you? Are you still getting inspiration? Is your next project on the horizon? Is it coming from the board?
It is. My next project is, I have actually two that I'm in the works with right now. With one is about the Ouija board and talking about the benefits of it, and the other one is about what I've learned from the Ouija board, how to deepen into yourself and how to be the best person you can be. And that book's coming out soon, and it's called The Alchemical Woman. And that's going to be a real exciting book.
The name of this book is The Spirit of Creativity by Karen Dahlman. We'll have links to her from our website. The Ouija board, the debate goes on, not just a bad thing, sometimes a tool for creativity and communication. Thank you, Karen, for joining us. For Matt, Andrew, Laura, who's off somewhere, and Eric and myself. Until next time, folks, stay on. Yeah.